Hello.
Hey, it's that time.
It's time for the finals.
It's time for the finals. You've waited for this for so long. So many great matches to get to this point, but there can be only one true king.
And that's true. And we have in our bracket right now, we have a true king already. The kid who has already won a couple tournaments down his belt and has made his way through the upper bracket.
That's right. And you've got Yedi, who got all the way through the lower bracket, clawing through many great competitors, including his own brother, to get to the finals here today.
And that family feud, that brotherly brawl, that do you have any more on hand?
Oh, right, the sibling smash, the sinister sibling smash. But yeah, that's right. He made it all the way through, and there's a possibility to have sibling true kings.
That's right.
When this is all said and done.
That's right. So let's go ahead and go to the bracket so we can show people what we're talking about here. So throughout this tournament, we see that we have an upper bracket, lower bracket. The kid was able to find himself in the upper bracket, beating some of the best players such as Drip Drop Dando, Goose, bringing him to the lower bracket in a real close match. Goose clawed his way all the way up to meet his brother, who also started in the lower bracket, Yedi. Yedi first fought against Laziness, then fought against Drip Drop Dando, fought against Papaya. So both of the min-max people who are very well known for their calculating plays, but Yedi was able to beat them to make his way to the loser bracket final, where he had that insane clutch. It was a 6-4, and then he came back and got a 3-pointer on a Warlord play to beat his brother Goose to find himself up here in the upper bracket.
That's right. It was a long journey. And doesn't it make sense if you work for Min-Max Games? I would expect you to be very calculating in how you play. It's right in the name of the company. But right, it was a long journey to get here for Yedi, who really had to claw all the way through, did so against some incredible competition. And that said, just because the kid had the shorter road doesn't mean that the kid's not ready and waiting to not only get the true king crown, which is a hard thing to say, but to stack it, because this would be the second true king crown for the kid.
That's right. And it's going to be interesting. So as being the true kid, the upper bracket finalist, the kid gets to have the true king first, speaking of true kings, meaning he gets to decide who plays first and who plays second in the first round. But before we get started, I thought we would maybe do a quick explainer on how to play Imposter Kings.
That's right. Since this is the tournament finals and we're going to have a big crowd here, we already have a big crowd here. It's wonderful to see all of you on this fine afternoon, wherever you might be. It might not even be the afternoon where you are. We're just going to go quickly over the rules of Imposter Kings.
All right. So how to play Imposter Kings? Well, the main part of the game is that you take turns from playing your card from your hand to the throne. The objective is to be the last person to play a card. So cards can only be played of values that are equal or lesser value, unless they have a special ability that allows them to get played on top of the current card, which is on the throne. So for example, cards have numbers on the top left there. You see a big old 9 and a 3. That 9 is one of the highest value cards. In fact, it is the highest value card. However, if you read the text on the number 3 there, it is able to be played on royalty, and that 9 is a royalty. So there are some exceptions to that rule, but generally speaking, you play something that is equal or higher value. Now, there are 18 cards in the deck. Each player is dealt 8. If both players get 8, how many is that total?
That's 16. What happens to the other 2, Sinbu?
I guess so. You have knowledge of every single card in your hand, obviously. There are 2 cards that you don't have knowledge about. One card that you don't have knowledge about. One of them's put away face up, which means that you can see it. The other one's face down, means you can't see it. So pretty much you know almost all the cards that are out there, but you get to determine which cards you want to play in which order, which determines whether you get to be the true king.
That's right. That face down burn card is what creates so much mayhem, because remember, it's the same 18 cards every time. So you think you know what's in your opponent's hand, except there's that one face down burn card that's there that throws everything into disarray.
That's right. And so each player also has a king card that they get to have. You get to discard one card, and then you place one card that you hide called the successor card. There are cards in this game that allow you to inquire what people have in their hand. For example, the Inquisitor, if you say a card name and your opponent has it, they have to play it their next turn. So by successing a card, by putting it away, you're essentially hiding one more card away from your opponent. Other cards, such as the King's Hand, stops the opponent from being able to play a card. And so there's obviously a lot of cards in this game. And so what we've done is actually provided a cheat sheet for those of you at home. So in the link, hopefully someone was going to post the cheat sheet. It's right there. So if you want to, you can go ahead and open that up, and it'll tell you exactly all the different variations of the cards. You can also download it here on this QR code, and there's a link to it as well.
That's right. So for those of you holding your phones up to your screens right now to grab that QR code, that will share with you all 18 cards. There are 2 of a few of the cards in that deck. So 2 Oathbounds, 2 Elders, 2 Soldiers. But that'll give you a whole sense of all 18 that are in play. And there'll be a lot of interesting stuff happening as we go. And we'll point it out as we go, as we always do. Right, Simbu?
That's right. And yeah, if you're going ahead and you're actually putting your phone up to the screen, make sure you write something in chat so we know. But
that's right. Take a picture, a selfie while you're doing that. Flip the camera around, and then share that on Insta and everything else.
That's
hashtag
right.
Imposter Kings.
Well, anyways, so hopefully the cheat sheet can help you through that. We're also going to talk through a lot of the games. And speaking of the games, so we have 2 really fine competitors today. What do we know about the Kid and Yedi?
Well, the Kid, as we mentioned, has already won a crown. This would be an attempt to get crown number 2. And they do stack a little bit like Legos, so very convenient that way. But right, the Kid came in from the upper bracket. Only took 2 wins to get to the finals, but the Kid... Would you say the Kid was the favorite coming into this, or certainly in the top 3 coming into this tournament? Would you say, Sinbu?
Yeah, so the Kid has a storied history with the Imposter Kings, where he has taken quite a lot of tournaments. If he hasn't won it, he's the second place player. He's put out video, he's put out content. He's done some deep analysis about which cards are good, which cards are not. And it doesn't hurt that he's ranked, top 10 player of all time in Flesh and Blood. Which is another competitive card game. So we have someone who is clearly has the heart of the cards in his...
Truly does understand the heart of the cards, is able to reach in. If it's printed on nice glossy cardstock, there's a chance that the Kid can make some magic out of it. And going up against Yedi, now Yedi, we mentioned that Yedi is part of a pair of brothers who are both excellent Imposter Kings player. I mentioned that the Kid was... one of the top 3 probably coming in. Yedi's sibling, Goose, would, I think, also potentially be part of that top 3. Yedi beat Goose in the semifinal match to get here. Yedi himself, a terrific player of Imposter Kings. And I think it'd be really interesting to see how their styles collide in this. Wouldn't you say, Simbu?
Yeah, so the Kid is very calculating, but he does take to a lot of very interesting lines. And I think the key for Yedi in this game is to stick to his analytical skills and just play calmly. And that's what actually won him against Goose as well. Goose, of course, well known for being wild, throwing Inquisitor for Inquisitors, giving people Elders when he plays Royalty. Reason why I think Yedi was able to win that game was because he was able to keep calm, think about all the different lines, and make sure he plays out the most optimal one. And yeah, he won that last hand by playing optimally, and it was the right thing to do. So,
mindset is big in this game. It's easy to get tilted. Again, everything tends to even out over a match to 7, but you are going to get bad hands along the way, and making the most of it and not getting tilted is really important. Keeping analytical, but also showing some flair along the way. That's how you win at Imposter Kings. Both these players very capable of that, and we'll see how things pan out today.
All right, and I think I just heard the horn, so I think it's time for us to go to the Imposter Kings stadium.
Boy, that's the best part of that stadium is when they play that giant horn. All right, and so we begin. The match leaps in, and the excitement will start right away.
Yeah, so let's take a quick look-see here. So on the Kid's side, we see that he has kind of a smaller, so we see a lighter hand, if you will. You've got Sentry, Warlord, as his powerful cards, but he has the Assassin, which is nice that he knows that where that is. He doesn't have to worry about the Fool, but he doesn't have any Oathbounds or anything that's going to help him kind of get over this this hand that Yedi has, which is a powerful hand. He's got both 9s, which are the Royalty. These are the most powerful cards. The Kid's deciding to go first. When the King tilts that way, that's how you know he's going first. This is his first discard. He's getting rid of one of his soldiers. But yeah, I mean, we've got 2 9s. We've got the King's hand for him to stop against the Assassin. So the King's hand can stop any ability that's being played. And then he's got just both Oathbounds in control. So he knows that those are no longer in play.
Yeah, one critical thing if you're the Kid, You know you have neither royalty card. So you look at what answers you have. The kid only has one answer in addition to his king flip, that one elder. Protecting that elder is going to be very important because if that elder does not get played on a royalty card, then the hand is lost for the kid.
And this is super smart. If you notice the Yedi, this is a situation he's had in a previous match. He's putting away his king's hand because he realizes right now if the kid inquisits for that king's hand, the kid's going to have very little resources. So using a 4 to inquisit for something and then missing, then the Yeti is able to play on anything. He can play any of his cards in his hand. So that's a really smart successor there. He's putting away his king's hand. The Inquisitor, if he calls out king's hand, which is, not a bad call out, it's going to be in trouble for him. Now, another line that the kid can take, he successors his elder to kind of hide that one away. I was going to say one of his lines could be Inquisitor into getting one of his royalty out and then using his elder as a safety. Right. He goes for a Mystic here. Wow, that is not one that I think most people would guess. But he gets the message.
One of Mystic 3s. Yeah, exactly.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So he's pulling. So he's used his Inquisitor. He called out Mystic. He then plays. He has to play the Mystic. The Mystic's ability, you can only use it if there's already cards that are flipped over or disgraced in the court. Since he doesn't have that prerequisite, he only has to play his Mystic as a 7. And now the kid is in a much better spot, putting out a Warlord on top of that. And now it's up to Yedi to decide whether he wants to start using his royalty or if he wants to flip.
Yeah, so if you're the kid, you know that Yeti's going to try to Mystic those 3s because you need to protect that elder,
right?
That 3, otherwise a double royalty play will end the hand. So immediately deals with the threat. Now, one thing is Yedi does not know that the kid only has one royalty countermeasure.
That's right.
Because the other royalty countermeasure, the elder, is a face-down burn.
We see it face up, but they don't see this card. And so they only know that the Fool is no longer here, but they don't see that there's not an elder here. So he decides to go with the Queen here. Essentially, when the Queen is played, all the other cards in court are disgraced, aka they're removed essentially from the game. In that case, the kid can't pick up any of his cards with cards that allow him to do that. For example, the Sentry allows you to disgrace itself to pick up something, exchange a card from your hand with something in the court. So by playing that Queen, he's now forcing the kid to flip, which he did. And now that's one of the responses to the royalty. His other one is the elder, so he has to keep this elder around for this princess. Yeti could, of course, inquisit and grab that elder right now. It's not terrible for the kid. He can still pick it up using
his sentry.
He elects to go with the assassin. This sounds to me like Yeti's trying to go for a 3-point play. And the way that you get more points is that if he doesn't flip his king and kid still has cards in his hand, he gets the maximum amount of points. So by getting rid of the assassin, that's actually the opposite. He's actually going for a 2-point play because now he's safe to flip and he can keep his king's hand there.
Yeah, I mean, he knew that the kid likely had the assassin by forcing out the king flip with the queen play. Yeti now playing the Oathbound on top of the assassin. If you're the kid, again, what you really want to do is make sure Yeti tries that king flip to at least shave 1 point off of this. Do you think he would dare to try to pick the assassin back up with the sentry?
Does he have enough manpower for that? I think he might, actually. So that's a hard read. He would have to assume that the king's hand is put away. Now, Yeti kind of signaled that he put his king's hand away because if he didn't use this Inquisitor to get the assassin and he flips, he's dead. He doesn't get to get the successor before he can king's hand. So he's using the ability here. I'm wondering if he thinks he has an opportunity here. Exchange the soldier for the assassin, you think? He disgraces it.
Yeah, let's see. This is a dramatic moment right here. Could potentially be a traumatic moment for Yeti.
So yeah, looking at the calculus here, so he gets the assassin. Yeti has to play, but Yeti still has a swap with his princess.
That's very true. Yep. So Sentry of the Ability, pondering it right now. He could also pick the Oathbound up. That would be the conservative play.
Actually, it's really good to get the assassin because even if he swaps, you give them the assassin. That's a dead card in their hand, and you can dump your hand here.
That's right.
So by getting rid of all the cards in your hand, you're minimizing your losses.
All right. You can always tell when there's extra decision time. There's a pivotal moment is happening.
He's doing the math.
He's thinking through all the lines for what he picks up here.
He's cooking.
That's right. And this is really tense. Now, again, there are 3 options to pick up.
He's committed to the bit.
He's committed to picking something up. And almost certainly he'll trade his soldier. I think that will be what he trades for. it trades with.
The soldier does not have any abilities that are useful because all of Yedi's cards are going to be high value cards.
Yeah, exactly. So I think at this point, and the Zealot has a lot of value at this point,
Right.
given what's
The
out
Zealot,
there.
once your king is flipped, the Zealot can be played on anything except for royalty. And the Elder can only be played on royalty. I mean, it can be played as a 3, but it can be played on royalty. So he's got kind of an answer for both. The one thing he needs to look out for is this Princess. This Princess has the ability to force both players to swap one card. And when you have low cards in your hand, it's kind of dangerous. So Kid is still thinking through the different permutations here. I think he wants to grab that assassin. But the issue is that if Yedi has the king's hand, then it's not even that much of a threat.
That's right. This is going to be very interesting indeed. I think he's thinking through what Yedi likely successored here, and thinking through basically probabilities. At this point, there's no certainty on what happens. He's trying to get into the psychology of what Yedi might have done. So this is where the poker element of Imposter Kings comes in a little bit. Just reading based off of your opponent's behavior what they may have done. And that's not just behavior in this match. That's behavior in previous matches. And believe me, both of these players watch matches they're not in to see what tendencies are.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple of tells, right? First of all, the kid wasn't interested in the king's hand in the first, so he didn't get that information for his first Inquisitor. This Inquisitor pulling the assassin, I think, is very telling. And in saying that, hey, I don't have a king's hand, because strong players typically, if they have the king's hand, they'll use it to burn it for the assassin if they need to, and they hold on to it for a long time too, especially if there's no threat. So he does decide to go with the assassin here.
There it is. Okay. Now, what does Yedi do in response?
So I think Yedi has to play his Oathbound to a Zealot, right? And then he plays his Princess. He has to swap. And at that point, the kid will have to give him the assassin. So kind of playing it through what we were talking about, where kid will probably be able to dump his hand and Yedi will be forced to flip. So it should be a 1-point loss, barring any sort of surprises. So here he goes. He's playing the Oathbound. The kid can only play the Zealot, literally.
Yep.
He played it with no ability. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Interesting.
And
So
the kid...
I think that's a blunder. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to go back. So right here, if he causes a swap, right?
Yep.
He doesn't have a card to swap. That's why I'm not playing. That's why I'm a caster.
Ah, that's right. That's exactly right. You
doesn't have a
have
card
to
to
have
swap.
something to swap. Now, this right here, this is an absolute Houdini act by the kid.
Jeepers.
An absolute Houdini act.
Yeah, we talked about how he was not supposed to win.
This was a very weak hand he had to start, actually.
My goodness.
The fact that not only did he didn't just mitigate a loss, this is, I think, a 5-point swing in terms of how well he played it, because this is definitely a hand, I think, in most...
At least 4, and meaning that the Yeti should have won with 2 points, and it became 2 points the other way. That's 4 points that have swung over. I mean, I think some players would have even mulliganed this hand. I mean, if we look at the beginning, right, you see this hand. This is not a great hand. He does get to choose to go first, which is good, and it built him momentum. I'm not sure. I mean, I think he was playing the king's hand as his successor in order to bait that Inquisitor, and that was kind of the pivotal thing that kind of caused him to, even be threatened by this assassin, right? The other pivotal moment is he had a choice to play either his princess or his queen. I think most players will play the queen here because the princess is really good in the late game.
Yeah, I think one element that Yedi will be second guessing here is when he had the free Inquisitor play to Inquisit out the assassin,
right?
Rather
right
than
here. So
the
he
elder,
inquisits
yeah.
the assassin. If he had inquisited the elder here, right, then it would have forced the kid to use the sentry to pick up the elder again.
Right. Now, one thing that we know that Yedi doesn't is that the kid did not have the other elder.
Right, exactly.
So that probably played into that decision there in a significant way.
And the kid also telegraphed that he had both elders. You see, when you call for this mystic, the mystic hits both elders when it uses its ability. It nullifies their ability. So by doing this, it's like, oh, Yeti's thinking he probably has both elders, and that's why he's scared of the mystic. But he actually only had one. He did have another 3. So the mystic's ability uses you choose a number, and those numbers become useless. But anyways, going back to this final play right here. So he grabs this assassin now. Yedi, so the reason why this took so long, by the way, is because he doesn't know what Yedi has in his hand. He has ideas of what it could be. And at the end of the day, he chose right. So if he played his princess and swapped here, then Kid probably would have just given him a zealot and on the Zealot, then he would just play, or on the Princess, he would just play the Elder, and then he'd play the Oathbound, and it's still the same outcome. So I think Yedi did some of the math already, and it turned out to be an assassination. That's a fantastic first hand.
Fantastic first hand. Goes to show the mayhem that face down burn can bring. And the kid, again, the Houdini act, to steal the first hand to go up 2-0, draw first blood, but still a lot of Imposter Kings here left to play.
Yep, you play up to 7, and we go into game 2. Now, the face-up card, both players see that the Assassin's not in play this time. The face-down card, the Elders just don't want to be a part of this chaos.
That's right, and again,
they have just decided to sit out.
Yedi has both Royalty, and the kid has neither Elder, although this time the kid has both Oathbound. So.
He's got quite a lot of... So this is a way different hand because he's got the Oathbounds. The Oathbound is a card that you can play on a higher value card, and when you do, you have to play another card. So you lose your hand really quickly, but it combos really nicely with the Fool. So you can play the Oathbound on a high value card and then the Fool, and the Fool allows you to pick up any card from the court. So it kind of mitigates that you lose an additional card from the Oathbound. So he's got one of the Oathbound Fool combo here called the OB Sneak. So that's going for him. He doesn't have an Elder, as you mentioned. But he does still have, an 8 and a 7. It's kind of similar, as you said, in terms of that, but he doesn't have that assassin threat. So
yeah, the kid with the 6-1 combo, that's a strong hand. Now Yedi has meat. He's got both 9s and the both Royalty, I should say, in the King's hand. And it'll be, I think, a very interesting question is what Yedi chooses to do about whether to go first or not.
And because Yedi lost last round, he gets to choose who goes first. He has the true king, as we say. So he's now deciding who goes first. Now, just the basic concept of it is if you go first, you have initiative. You can play cards that are low that have lots of power, such as the Inquisitor who pulls cards from people's hands. If you go second, you have card advantage. You essentially are playing behind your opponent, meaning that they're going to run out of cards first if all else equal. So Yeti's going to decide to go first. And as we were saying, some of the strategies have kind of diverged. The min-max players really enjoy going second because they think that card advantage is super important. So far, what we're seeing, Kid and Yedi, they're choosing to go first. They want the initiative.
That's right. Now, Yedi, of course, threw away the other Elder. Makes sense when you have both Royalty. The Elder doesn't have much utility then. The interesting thing will be to see what... a big thing, right? Yeti's got a great starter hand because you have many of the opening cards. Judge into Inquisitor is a very common opening combo because you force your opponent to make basically a useless play or what can often be an empty play to play on top of the Judge that then gets the Inquisitor on top of it, and then you force their next play on top of that. So you really set the tempo for the whole hand that way.
Yeah. And it's Yeti's hiding his successor card is his Queen, which is a rare successor, but one that is interesting because most people will successor their princess because people are going after the princess. There's two things he needs to think about here. One is that he only has one Inquisitor, although he did throw it away, but Yeti doesn't know that. The second is that maybe he's thinking, okay, he's going to predict that I'm going to put this away. I should put something away that they're probably not going to ask. Of course, again, as we just mentioned, the kid deciding to throw away the Inquisitor, which I think is a really interesting play here.
Right, especially to put the Queen successor when you know your opponent might have the Fool is an interesting choice because it means you can't really mask your King Flip. And a King Flip is one way to get the Fool played, to play on your opponent's King Flip. And
it has a value of 1. So when an opponent flips their king, it disgraces the top card on the throne, aka resets the pile back to 1. So you can play the Fool then. And the Queen does a really good job of disgracing everything in the court, especially with this hand where he knows he has the Fool. Yeah, I'm surprised the Queen is put away because the Queen being played allows you... Yeti. Yeti just played the Judge with no ability.
Was that... Do you think that was a misclick? That's a really intriguing thing to just lay it out as a 5.
I think he played with Goose one time, and Goose put ideas in his head, and this is his idea.
Well, because right, you can't just play the Judge as a 5. You don't have to invoke the ability. The ability means you guess a card in your opponent's hand, and if you're right, then you get to play a card in your antechamber that will be played regardless of what your opponent does. I'm really curious about that. I'm really thinking what advantage Yeti gains by doing that. I would assume there is one though.
There is always the fact that maybe he's bluffing that he doesn't have the king's hand and like he doesn't want this 5 to be taken off the throne. I'm curious about it. We'll have to talk about it post game, but.
And I think the kid.
The kid is
perplexed, which is I think the reason why he's taking some extra time this turn, just thinking through what the implications are of doing that. That's a rare play. I don't think we've seen that happen once this entire tournament.
I'm getting confirmed that it is a misclick. So we have grand final rules. We have allowed for if both players agree to have
wind it back.
Wind back. So we're gonna wind this back.
Again, I was trying to think about what sort of 9D chess was in play here, and it is a very curious move. So fortunately, Simbu here has the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. Something even superior to being the true king. The god of the machine, as it were, and so he can wind back a turn using the magic of the Imposter King's player. And yes, as we're saying in the chat, right? I mean, this is finals of the tournament. Both players had a very long run getting here, and it would be very, very painful to lose a hand and the match potentially off of a silly misclick. So. All right. The play has been wound back, and I anticipate that Yedi's going to play the judge here.
You think so?
Yes. Actually, you invoke the ability here.
So let's see. So I mean, I still got to make fun of him playing with his brother Goose and learning some new tactics. Goose, the joke is that Goose is trying to find every single way he can to make the game, to break the meta, if you will.
There is always an edge. Goose is always trying to find some
different card this time.
Oh, fascinating. All right. So, Soldier guessing Oathbound. Could this be? Wow. Now
could this be mind games? No.
Yeah.
No. They discussed it and they said it was okay. So. This is now, just to be clear, the Soldier, when you guess correctly, he guesses Oathbound. This becomes a 7 now. So that's a really powerful start and a much better start for Yedi. And so I believe what happened was the misclick was not actually using the ability. He picked the wrong card because they're both, fives.
Both green fives. Very easy to
I mean, someone who games the game designer of this game changed the colors of the numbers so you can tell, but
Well, we all agree that the game designer is a genius, but
it happens to all of us, and it looks like he's now just going to play his Mystic. As we mentioned, the Mystic can't use its ability unless there's already disgraced cards in the court. Lore-wise, she doesn't like to get herself involved until people start mudslinging.
Until the heads start rolling. So There we go, a king flip on that. So now Yedi, and again, I think Yedi played that very smartly again. That's all to counteract a fool deployment. So now the kid can play the fool right now. It would only be able to pick up that Soldier, which gets you card advantage.
You'll have +2 cards at this point because he went
second too.
Yeah,
card advantage.
I don't think that's bad.
Because if you use the fool without needing an Oathbound to get it out, then you have added a card to your hand. Normally, you'd burn a card during your turn. You didn't burn a card that turn. You just replaced one. And since Yedi went first here, that means that the kid will have significant card advantage, which can often get you at least 1 point.
He decided not to use his fool, and I think that's smart because what he's doing now is playing a card that is usually going to be hard. It's going to be hard for him to play. The Soldier, he's going to make it a 7. He's going to get some information. He gets the Judge. He's not going to disgrace any cards because...
I don't know if that got him much information, but
I think he wants to hit it and make it a 7 because he doesn't want him to be able to play the Judge.
Exactly.
So now this is a 7. He now played the Warlord. He's saving his fool for the 6-1 flip that we were talking about.
That's right.
Which I think is smart.
That's right. And Yedi's got to be very concerned because anytime the pile gets above 6, he knows the Oathbound can bring the fool out, and he just doesn't want to put anything out there that could be picked up that's valuable.
Well, this is now a push your luck type of game, and the kid I think has to use the 6-1 now because of the fact that the queen. Now that he has the queen in his hand, if he plays his sentry here, this 8, and he plays the queen, Yedi plays the queen, which disgraces all cards. At that point, the fool becomes useless. Oh, I should say useless. It becomes Oathbound fool, and then he has to pick up the Oathbound again, which is not terrible if he's going for a 1-point loss, meaning he's trying to get rid of all the cards in his hand. It's already a 2-point hand for him. meaning he cannot lose more than 3 points because of the fact that Yedi already flipped. Yep. But this is, so he's going to push his luck.
Yeah, pushing his luck, puts the sentry out there. Now Yeti's got to think, how much do I want to push my luck?
Yeah.
And there's 3 valid plays on this: Princess, King's Hand, or Queen. And a King's Hand could be very potent here, potentially. But you can't King's Hand something that was played through an Oathbound. Important to note there. So
he does. I think that's a good play. And the reason is because the threat is those double royalty, right? And so the kid has to find a way to combat those double royalty. Do you flip here? I think you wait, right? One more?
Well, no, I think you do flip because you do have both Oathbounds to deal with the double royalty. And you could potentially say you have 3 Oathbounds because you could Oathbound, Fool, and pick your Oathbound back up. So.
Sure, but I'm scared of the whole Judge Inquisitor potential here. We'll see what he decides to do. You could also just do a raw Inquisitor into an Oathbound, get rid of one of them. Right?
That's right.
The only issue is that we were talking about is... Okay, cool. So he did Judge into Oathbound. The Judge, when you guess correctly, you can place something in your Antechamber. Antechamber cards get played no matter what next turn. So no matter what next turn, Yeti's going to play this Inquisitor. Now the kid has 3 options, or 2 options really. Oathbound or a Zealot. So he plays the Zealot. The Zealot can be played on any card once your king is flipped except for royalty. Uses the Inquisitor, pulls one of these Oathbounds, and this is not good.
Yeah, I mean, he can pick his Oathbound back up. Actually,
and then it's just Princess.
Yeah.
So this is, I think Yedi saw the line. I think he knew exactly what he had in his hand, and now the kid has no recourse to this. That long hold on that queen really paid off in the end. Now the kid has to play Oathbound Fool, pick up the Oathbound, and then Yedi can end it with the Princess.
That's right, because you think of the Oathbound as a card that can always be played, but there is one time when you can't play it, which is if you play it on a higher number, meaning you invoke its ability, you need another card to be able to play, and the kid's not going to have another card in this case, and I think that's probably dawning on him that there's really no way out of this. So he has to play Oathbound Fool here. There will only be one card to pick up. That will be the Oathbound. He'll now have just the Oathbound in his hand. Yedi will play the Princess. And you can't play the Oathbound if you have nothing to follow it up with on the Princess, and that'll be that, and that'll be a 2-point hand.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a decision point here. I'm wondering what kid is pondering. Potentially is baiting the fact that maybe he has an Elder and he's thinking about which one to play, but it really doesn't matter because Yedi only has 1 card to play next turn. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Whenever the kid hesitates like this, even in a situation like this where it seems like the hand is done, I still find myself doubting myself that there's something I've overlooked that the kid is going to happen on. It's going to Houdini out of the situation.
That's right.
But we'll see here. Again, it would appear that the lines are set, that this hand is effectively over. Yep, there it is. So Oathbound with ability has to play the Fool. There's only going to be one thing to pick up. There's no reason not to pick it up. So Oathbound with ability. Again, it makes you wonder, is there some rule, Simbu, is there some rule we haven't considered? Played the Fool with no ability. But very smartly did not pick up a card, saved a point.
What?
Because you don't have to pick the Fool up.
Are you sure? I made this guy. What the heck? Is that actually a play?
Choose. That must have been what he was thinking. And again, it goes to show we were here saying this is a 2-point hand. You do not have. So important thing here, right?
I can't believe it. I need to.
Your opponent gets a point if you end the hand with a card stuck in your hand. So the kid played the 6-1 combo. And we all thought, then he'd have to pick up the Oathbound, which will be stuck in his hand. He does not have to pick the Oathbound.
I mean, that's what he was thinking about, was if the Elder happened to be in Yeti's hand, then you 6-1 and you win.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about whether to save that point.
Okay, I officially can't cast this anymore. I think people have gone way further than I have ever. I always like to say, "Oh yeah, I thought about that." I'm such a genius, but that was. I was confused.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I didn't.
Egg
see
on my
that.
face.
There is a reason why neither of us is at this stage of the tournament, and that was one of them because the kid found that margin there, saved himself a point, but in a way was thinking, if I try to save myself a point, I could lose potentially 2 points.
It's so smart. It's really good play. I had no idea that that was even an option. And so just to rock it back one last time, at this point, he can only play his Oathbound, and then he has to play his Fool. If he chooses to use his Fool ability, he gets his Oathbound back. Now, if he then plays the Princess, Yedi would get 2 points because the kid would be stuck with a card in his hand. Now, if he doesn't pick up the Oathbound, which is what happened, it's only a 1 point loss because he doesn't have any cards left in his hand. So it's a really smart application of the rule set. The calculus he was thinking about right here was, does he have that Princess or does he have this face down Elder? What are the chances that it's actually an Elder? And I think what he was thinking is, okay, he wouldn't play a Queen here if he had just an Elder, right? He would have dumped the Elder a lot earlier. So really smart heads up thinking. I'm sure that the kid was thinking ahead there and just was able to save a point. We'll see if that point becomes the pivotal point.
Really smart heads up thinking. That's pretty much the kid in a nutshell when it comes to Imposter Kings, and likely in many, many, many other scenarios as well. And all right, so there it is, 2-1 after 2 hands.
He's going to clip it and then play it. Like, he's going to find that clip where I'm just like, what is he waiting for? And then just send it to me. It's going to be great. I'm going to keep it in my head forever and whenever I ever question the kid again.
Now, what an interesting set of hands. Now, the kid, as the true king, selects who goes first. This time, the kid has both royalty. The assassin's out again. The sentry is the face-down burn. Interesting. I'd say that
nice for the elders to finally come out and play.
That's right. Interesting. If I'm Yedi, this is not a great hand, but it certainly has a lot of options in it. And this should be a very interesting combat coming up.
Yedi does have quite a lot of tools at his disposal. The things that he's missing are the Fool and Assassin, and it's just, you would like to have just a little bit more. And that Sentry, not having that, thinking that he doesn't have the Sentry, that's going to be pretty detrimental. The kid losing last round, one of the benefits of only losing 1 point is you also still get to choose who goes first. Telling Yedi, you need to go first. I think the kid is going to go play for a 3 point here. He's going to maximize his advantage with his hand. Some people would play first as the kid, trying to use these lower value cards such as the Judge and the Inquisitor to gain tempo. But I think what the kid realizes is, hey, he's got to have both Oathbounds if he's going to survive this. And if he does have both Oathbounds, he's going to run out of cards real fast. And so I'm going to take advantage of the fact that by making him go first, he's going to run out of cards faster.
Yeah, this one has an odd 2 point hand written all over it, where the oddest 2 point hand is one where you run out of cards but your opponent hasn't flipped their king yet. It's a really odd scenario, but this is exactly the kind of hand where that can happen.
It could. It really depends on what the mind state for Yedi is. He's going to successor his queen.
Interesting.
Well, apparently that's the new thing.
Well, when you have the Fool and the queen do not play well.
Oil and water.
Yeah, exactly. Which, again, for lore purposes, is actually really amusing. Right, because the queen, when you play it, disgraces everything, and then the Fool doesn't have anything to pick up. So, not surprising that the kid might tuck that away. It's very interesting to think about what Yedi is going to open with here. If you're Yedi, you're thinking, what do I just lead with the Inquisitor, and what would I want to have picked up if that's the case?
I'm never going to question the kid again, but I definitely would have kept the queen and try to go for a 3-pointer here. The biggest thing is if you force an early flip, you get a Fool. But again, as you mentioned, if you use the queen and then they flip, your Fool is useless. So maybe that's his thinking here, is that, hey, you know what, Yedi's going to try to open up and find that print at some point. Maybe we'll Oathbound into Inquisitor and try to grab that queen, so that way you can't use your Fool. But if he doesn't hit anything, then that's just a sitting pile of cards that the kid can choose from. So
that's exactly right. So interesting. Yedi tosses away an Oathbound.
He does this. We saw that. Remember, I asked him. He says, the Oathbounds are really powerful, but they're situational. And he tosses.
Used it to great effect, right, in the earlier rounds of this tournament. And
irony again, being he hated her for such a long time.
Well, it's interesting. So Yedi's looking at it and saying, I don't have either royalty card, but I have so many countermeasures. I've got both Oathbounds and an Elder.
Goes for Princess. He guesses correctly.
Wow! Right away, goes for the kid's Princess, gets it. And now, if you're the kid, you're thinking, all right, how does this change how I'm going to play? The kid, leaving a Princess in the kid's hands is very dangerous. So it's I think, a wise play to extract her right away.
I like that. So the kid is now thinking, should I do the swap? There's two considerations here. One, if Yedi has the king's hand, he can use the king's hand to remove both. He can counterspell if she chooses to use her ability, which is, again, to swap cards with your opponent, one card. So that 8 can beat that 9. He chooses no ability. If he chooses no ability, the king's hand can't be used on it, but then he doesn't get to use the ability, obviously.
I think the amusing thing is they might have just traded soldiers with each other.
Yeah.
And initiated a swap.
So it's fun.
Yeah. So, okay, Elder comes out. So, again, great thing about playing an Elder on a royalty card is you get great value out of that card compared to what your opponent used. But the problem is you also do concede tempo, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. Kid plays the Judge and now is going to start steering this hand. Guesses Oathbound, very safe guess. And let's see what the kid's successor
He knows that Yedi likely has 2, and if he has 2, even if he successored 1 or threw away 1, he'll still have 1. So guessing correctly on the Judge, he now gets to put any card he wants other than the Fool into his antechamber, meaning it will be played no matter what next turn. He has a choice to either go with the Battery, which has been pretty unsuccessful this tournament run, or put the Inquisitor. So he chooses the Inquisitor. Luckily for Yedi, he does have a Soldier. Soldier is pretty good against the Judge.
Soldier is going to be great, especially because he knows the Fool is around, and there's that
could...
princess bobbing out there in the water that you don't want to have around.
Right. So this Soldier is going to be really powerful. Hashtag here's to all the Soldier haters. Might actually win him this round because he's going to be playing the Soldier. If he guesses correct, I mean, I'm not sure he's going to play the Soldier yet. He still hasn't played. If he plays the Soldier, he guesses correctly. He then can disgrace all of these cards. So part of the Soldier's ability is that if you guess a card correctly in your opponent's hand, Fool, which is a good guess, he gets it.
That's an excellent thing because if Yeti doesn't have the Fool, then you care less about disgracing everything. Yeah.
So it becomes a 7, and its secondary ability, it can disgrace up to 3 cards in court, and that makes it so the Fool can't pick up those cards.
Right, now it's interesting to see what he disgraces. The Princess, certainly, and then out of the other 3, it'd be interesting.
I just keep the Elder. There's no problems with the Elders out there.
Yep.
And there we go.
There we go.
There he's disgracing again.
Well, okay, so disgracing the stack. Now, if you're the kid, the question is, what do you want to go fetch? Knowing that you have 1 royalty card left, you don't know what Yedi has done. You might try to Exodia Yedi here, meaning burn all of Yedi's.
Have you seen Yu-Gi-Oh?
Nope, but I like.
You just know, you know Exodia.
I've heard it. I too am in tune with the heart of the cards.
Okay.
But it'd be interesting to see what the kid guesses here, and obviously, the kid is mulling it over. Now the Yedi still has the king flip. So you're not going to guarantee a loss here if you do fetch his last royalty countermeasure.
I think what he's debating is, hey, is it worth for me to pull some of his high-value cards for the king flip? Is there a threat with the Warlord? And is there another Oathbound?
He does
go for the Zealot. Yeah. Okay, so he should know that the Zealot is probably hiding. Most people don't throw away the Zealot just because it's so powerful. Against double royalty, you might. So it's not for sure that the kid thinks that he might have a Zealot, but he also doesn't mind missing here that much because the cards Yedi has in his hand are pretty high-value cards.
Right, and the kid, again, what these players don't know is that the Sentry is not around. Sentry is an 8, so the kid might be thinking that he's facing a lot of beef here. And... you want to draw that beef out. Yedi.
Interesting. He decides to flip it. Okay, cool.
Flips on that. Okay. Not much of interest to pick up with the Fool, and it's probably what influenced that decision.
Yeah, and I have no idea how this game is going to end.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting.
this is a crazy hand.
The kid would likely pick up the Soldier. We get card advantage.
But then that Soldier is a 5, and everything in Yeti's hand is going to look to eat that up.
Yeah, exactly. You're probably facing a beef disadvantage if you're the kid. And so
that's the only time he can really pick up something, though. So it seems like it's the time to do it.
Part of it is just getting rid of the Fool, which is going to be very difficult to play now that Yedi has used his king flip. So takes the opportunity, picks the Soldier up, and now has Soldier in the hand. If you're Yedi now, get a free play here.
I mean, you don't want a free play.
Yeah, it's not that desirable.
So keep in mind that the kid went second, and he played the Fool. So now he's got lots of cards in his hand. It doesn't look like he has lots of cards in his hand because he hasn't flipped his king yet, but that's an additional turn into itself. So
he king's hands the Fool.
Okay. That's an interesting play. So when he played the Fool, he attempted to use its ability to pick up the Soldier. Yedi said no thank you, got rid of his 8 for that 1. That's going to be pretty good for the kid to get rid of one of those power cards. Yedi, I think, is realizing, hey, I'm going to be fighting a lot of things. I need him to flip, and I need to be able to play my cards,
So better to fight the card advantage. So with that, King's Hand wipes out the Fool play, which means now the kid has to play something else. And most likely, it's interesting to think. He does have a potential Mystic play.
I think he realizes that Yedi only has one Oathbound here. He knows he has at least one because he used his
Soldier earlier in
Soldier,
guest, right?
or
Judge.
Soldier,
It might
Judge,
have been
one of
Judge,
those
yeah.
things. Yeah, so he knows that he has at least one Oathbound. And why I'm saying that is because the Mystic can wipe out all of the 6s, which he does.
That's it. Yeah, and now
So this makes the 6 a value of 3 after being played, and that big X means that it's a sad boy. Cannot use its
and
abilities.
now this is desperate because now Yedi has no countermeasures for worldly play, and
He's at least going to get a flip here because he has to fetch his queen here.
so
But this looks like a 2-point hand for the kid.
this does flips. And now if you're Yedi, you're probably going to play your Warlord here, I would guess. And then
that's
if
all
the
she
kid
wrote.
has correctly intuited that Yedi is out of countermeasures.
I guess the best play he could play is the Zealot, and then he plays the Soldier, and then he plays the Warlord, but I don't think that's going to ever happen in any world. So
Yeah, and again, one question that will come. That's it. That's the hand. The queen comes out. It's a 2-point win for the kid. 4-1 now after 3 hands. Question that's going to be afterwards is, he threw an Oathbound away. Does he regret that, given how the hand played out?
correct. So he throws the Oathbound out. He guesses the Princess correctly early on. Around this part right here, it was kind of getting a little bit scary, right, for the kid. Unsure if he's going to be able to secure that 2-point victory. But I think right here, when he calls out the Zealot, he realizes he doesn't need it. He wants to get that out of his hand. And then he uses his 7s right here for the Oathbound muting, essentially. That seals the game for him.
Yep.
And he realizes, hey, I've seen both 3s. I've made sure the 6s can't do anything. There's no king's hand to stop me because it just was used on the Fool. I just have to play my queen, and I win. And that's exactly what happened.
Just, again, saw he had both royalty and just kept springing the trap on using that royalty to its maximal advantage. And another superbly played game by the kid, up 4-1 within one hand now of another true king crown.
That's right. I mean, the kid has not been getting the best hands. In fact, I would say he's arguably getting some pretty bad hands, but he's been able to maneuver them in such a way to just play around what Yeti's trying to do. Ultimately, we're at 4-1 here. And before we move on,
we are going to take a moment because there is something very important to announce, right, Simbu?
Yeah, there's so loyal followers of Imposter Kings have seen a lot of movement around trying to create even a greater Nersetti kingdom, if you will. So there's been a couple of different modes. People have been playing 3-player, 4-player. But one thing that's been asked is, when's the next thing coming out?
When is the next thing coming out, Simbu?
I don't know. Let's take a look at this trailer. Well, there you have it.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! There's gonna be an expansion of Imposter Kings?
Yeah, there sure is. And as was hinted in the trailer, there's a couple of new mechanics
There are new kings! New kings in Imposter Kings? Why, there's even more impostering!
There was a plural. The hint was there all along. So yeah, there's going to be, it's called Fragments of Nersetti. We're hoping the Kickstarter will come out October 1st. And even before then, there's going to be some more teasers. But one of the Kickstarter tiers is obviously being able to beta test it. And so love to see you guys out on the field. We have new kings. I'm not sure if you caught that, but there was maybe some other things that were going on in that trailer too.
Oh my gosh, you're going to love this game.
Some of the cards were changing.
It takes the things you already love about Imposter Kings, and it just adds so many new flavors. It's like it's like a cube of garlic going in the stew. It's just going to add all that umami. All those flavors are going to meld together. You are going to love it.
That's right. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us on October 1st to see what kind of chaos awaits the kingdom then.
That's right, folks. You won't want to miss that. You heard Simbu say it. October 1st is when the Kickstarter is going up. There's going to be all sorts of wonderful rewards. It's going to be fantastic. I highly recommend it. Don't miss that. And you won't want to miss what's coming up next in this broadcast either.
Yep, and that is going back into the Foster King Stadium, seeing what's going on in the battlefield. So last we left off previously on Dragon Ball Z.
Previously.
I had to do one Dragon Ball Z.
You know, it's funny. It's funny how the royalty is stuck together through this whole match. All four hands, both royalty cards have been dealt to the same player.
You're right, but we do get the assassin finally back into play. So we have two. Let's see here. We've got the royalty and then pretty much all the dregs of society.
Yeah, you know, Yeti's got an interesting hand. Again, you know, two powerful royalty cards, the assassin, the sentry, and then getting both elders when you have both royalty can be good because it means your opponent doesn't have them, but you don't have any utility for those elders except for a princess swap.
And it's kind of a bummer because you don't even have the fool to let you know that they can't use one of those those OB sneaks, 6-1 sneaks. So kind of some non-notables in the discards here. We got a soldier face up, and we have a randomly discarded inquisitor. So neither player knows that the other player does not have a inquisitor here. The kid won last round, so Yedi gets to decide who goes first. And in this case, it's kind of an interesting play. Again, he doesn't know that the inquisitor is out, so maybe he might tuck away his assassin. I think in this case, you probably keep it out. The biggest problem he has is he needs to get rid of this king's hand if he's going to try to go for that assassin play.
Yeah, I would be tempted if I were Yedi to let the kid go first here, try to burn out his hand and use the royalty after he's used up his countermeasures. That would be one approach here.
And the bummer about that approach is that one of the things you do is if you let your opponent go first when you have the assassin, you're essentially saying, hey, you know what? Go ahead and inquisit. You try to hit my assassin, nothing's going to happen, and then I get to use my inquisitor. Because if you use your inquisitor, miss it, then it's just a 4 on the stack. You can play your own inquisitor. But what he doesn't realize is that the kid doesn't have that inquisitor. So likely his first card is going to either be this judge or this oathbound. Yeah, I've noticed the kid throws away the judge quite a lot. So maybe he's going to throw away the if he goes first, he might throw away the judge and then play the oathbound here.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting start. So many interesting decisions. There's basically no easy meta play with this hand. So Yedi, even making a decision about going first is going to be hard. And then what to keep and what to burn. Yedi actually does have one very obvious thing. He's going to burn one of those elders. There's no reason to keep both. But beyond that, it's going to be
no reason. I'm never gonna talk in absolutes again.
We've learned that lesson. For some reason, I can't seem to keep that lesson, but that's right. So
possibly in contention right now. The reason why he's taking so long is all of these lines are very different. Deciding to go first, deciding to go second. Like these are really different things. The third decision is that you can mulligan.
That's right. And this hand,
I've never seen someone mulligan a hand with two with
both royalty. I mean, we've seen the golden rule of imposter kings. When you mulligan a marginal hand, you always seem to end up with a worse one.
He's gonna have the kid go first, and so I think the kid now might keep his judge, but I could also see him throw it away and just use one of his oathbounds as like a power play.
Now, what would be intriguing is if he does play the judge first, will he still guess assassin just to get the information?
That's one of the benefits, but I really think looking at his opponent's hand and what could be thrown away, him playing an oathbound first devastates this hand.
Yeah, although, it would be interesting.
A 6 is hard for Yedi to play, to be clear.
If you're the kid and you got told you're going first, yeah, you might assume that Yedi has both inquisitors because you think, Yedi assumes I don't have any of the right opening cards. So it'd be very interesting to see what the dynamic is. The kid basically assuming, okay, Yedi already knows I don't have both inquisitors, even though obviously Yedi does not. Okay, throws away the zealot.
So, knowing that he has both royalty, that's not terrible. I also always said that I think the zealot's one of the weaker cards in the game, both design and gameplay-wise.
Yeah.
So
those eyes boring into your skull can be discomforting.
It's my son's favorite card.
I thought your son's favorite card was the Inquisitor.
I know he loves the Inquisitor too, but
sorry, not to be clear, not the Inquisitor, the Inquisitor.
Inquisitor, yeah. He's gonna pocket his Warlord here, so interesting start. So he might start with that judge. Again, I think that an Oathbound play is devastating.
I think that Warlord pocketing has got a lot to it because he has the knowing that he has the Zealot, which is kind of the answer if you get the Warlord out, if it's buffed on top of Royalty. Something tells me that could end up being very important, a late Warlord play in this hand.
Yeah, there are things that we just don't even know because what I need is actually parallel universes for someone to play this hand with the Zealot in his hand, and somehow the Yeti grabs it, uses the Sentry, pulls the Zealot, and is able to use it against the Warlord.
Judge guessing Inquisitor, okay, so does lead with the Judge, does a very safe guess, and then set up a 6. This is just to burn cards out. Yeti, I'm assuming
he's going for the burn method rather than the straight up. So he's letting why I'm saying it this way is because if he didn't use the Judge, he instead used the Oathbound first. That soldier might be a dead card in Yeti's hand. Of course, there are no dead cards in Yeti's hands thanks to the Princess being able to swap a card.
That's right. So now Yeti, I suspect, will play the soldier, guess to get information, and does. The kid has the King's hand. I don't think will disgrace anything because he suspects the kid has the Mystic. And
Correct.
so, we'll probably leave that just there.
Remember, the Mystic can only use its ability if there's a card disgraced in court. So he got the guess correctly. He guessed King's hand, but he doesn't want to disgrace anything because if he...
Or maybe he decides to disgrace everything.
Oh, well, so he had an antechamber card.
Yeah.
So, okay, wow, he's going fast. All right,
He's
got a line. So by doing it this way, he disgraces both things, including the soldier that was played. So he disgraced himself. And then it forces the kid, because he used the Judge, he's forced to play his Oathbound. Then he flips to get his Assassin. He does it quickly because now the Fool has nothing to pick up. So it's kind of like a makeshift queen. And it's good. I mean, this illustrates why the Judge is such a good card and can also be such a bad card if people are able to take advantage of it. Most people don't hold on to Soldier. One Soldier's already showing. He's probably thinking, Yeti's just going to throw away the Soldier. Soldier killed it here.
Yeah, remember the kid Yeti is card advantage. So
he killed it.
He's just trying to get the kid to use up his cards, so he has to play the King's hand just because there's no other option. Do you think the kid plays the Fool here just to get rid of it?
He can't. If he does, he's got the 6/1 combo still. He can't just play the Fool right now because then Yeti can fire back with an Inquisitor, and that could be all she wrote.
That's true.
So in that line, Fool, Inquisitor, get King's Hand. King's Hand comes out or gets King's Handed. Doesn't matter which, actually, because then he plays the Sentry. And then he has to use his Oathbound into Mystic to get rid of the Assassin, and that's just not great.
Now, one other path is he could use the Mystic to wipe out the Assassin right now.
Yes, if he wants to. A lot of people like to hold on to the Mystic as long as possible because she's a 7. Using her ability causes herself to disgrace, which gives them the initiative again. So lots of different lines on this one simple hand. He's got 5 options, including the King flip, and it's tough, right? Another thing that you could always do is if you are afraid of having your King's Hand removed from your hand, you can just flip early, which is what he decides to do.
There it is. There's the flipping on nothing.
So he's going to assassinate him, but he has the King's Hand in order to stop it.
So, all right, King's Hand exhausted.
And I could say with absolute certainty that it's not a good idea to let yourself be assassinated.
We've, yes, to actually get assassinated is generally bad.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay, now the kid is going to extract out the Oathbound. A wonderful play there. So not only because he can't use the Fool in concert with it, and I think at this point the kid is in bad shape.
You mean the Yeti called the Oathbound to pull out the Oathbound,
Yeah.
And now this is terrible for the kid.
Yeah, and that's it. That's hand's already over. It's 2 points because he has nothing to play on the Queen.
That just kind of ended.
Marvelous play by Yeti there, seeing all the opportunities and lines.
We got to go back to the play of the game here. So the Judge, right, guesses correctly. He puts his Oathbound down. Now, as I was saying, one of the other plays was to play just directly the Oathbound, which would also counter this strategy. Most people don't hold this soldier. This soldier did some work here. It guessed correctly, disgraced both cards. He has to play the Oathbound. He flips. At this point, this is a dominant hand, right? So this is fantastic, foresight and thought.
And we were talking about that Yeti might consider mulliganing this hand, but that just goes to show, just fantastically played. The decision to go second, everything that Simbu just walked through, all the byplay there, just got the most out of his hand and what its strengths were. That's just top level play at this game.
Yep,
it's what it takes if you want to be the true king.
Yep, and we're now at 4-3. We knew this was going to be a slugfest. So when you get, oh my gosh, Yedi, he is attracting pretty much all of the.
Oh wow! So this is a beefy hand that Yedi has. Both 9s, both 8s, one of the 7s, one of the 6s is out. And if you're the kid looking at this, you're thinking
you can't play this one.
Yeah,
this is a little crazy. So I can't imagine. Kid's gonna still think about it, of course, because a mulligan is free the first time. The second time you use it, you pay 2 points. And so in this case, if he's able to think of a line where he can survive to only lose 2 points, that's not a big deal. It's also not super bad because Yedi can't win the match off of this game. What Yedi did to Goose, I know Goose is listening, so this might be, cover your ears, Goose. This might be painful. 6-4, when he was playing against Yedi, he was 1 point away from winning. He played a terrible hand. Yedi capitalized and got 3 points on it. He instantly won the entire match off of that. And you like to say, don't die.
Don't die in the desert with water in your canteen.
Don't try something salt water. All right, Kid decides to mulligan after Yedi decides to go first. Yedi going first is probably the right play because he wants to just power through and get that 3 point.
Yeah, the kid had to mulligan this. This is the hand you save your mulligan for.
And we're getting the classic. I like to call it the El Clasico. Yedi's getting both 8s. Kid's getting both 9s and a 7. This is my favorite hand setup usually. So trying to evaluate the hands really fast. Yedi has a really strong standing here. Having both 8s is really strong, but then also having both oathbounds. Oathbound into a fool obviously is really powerful too. And he has the king's hand. Obviously with having both 8s gives you the king's hand is good against the assassin.
That's right. Now, when you have both 8s and both 6s, you always have to be wary when you don't have the mystic. And the kid's got the mystic. If you're the kid right now, you're thinking, how can I make the most out of this mystic?
He doesn't have an oathbound to make it so it's unking's handable, but it's still very good because you'll use the mystic and say number 8, and he'll either have to use his king's hand on that or just have 2 8s that become 3s after being played and cannot stop the assassin anymore.
That's right. Or you can wipe both oathbounds, which given that kid has both royalty and all elders are accounted for, is a winning play if Yedi can't king's hand it for whatever reason.
Oh man, what do you think? I think this is gonna be interesting. So the kid is the true king, so he gets to decide who goes first here. And in this case, I feel like, I mean, it's really tough, but I think that the kid can take the initiative here, and part of that is making sure he hits really hard. Comes out the gate swinging with his Inquisitor. Another wear out that he can take is he can start just playing Soldier. If he guesses correctly, there's not very many cards that Yedi can play without going into his higher level order.
Yeah, now this is a very interesting thing. I think, again, the kid thinking about whether to go first, just hitting with beef at the beginning could be a really good play. What you need to get a disgraced card out there. Got to make sure you've got a path to getting a disgraced card. Because, again...
Which Soldier does.
Yeah, Soldier does, exactly. And, I mean, you're thinking, can I deal with his king's hand in a way where I can go destroy his 6s? That's, I think, probably what the kid might be chewing on right now. I would guess the kid... Well, I was going to say I would guess the kid's going to burn his Elder, but for all I know, he's thinking about how he can swap the Elder, the Yedi, and the Princess swap.
I think that he needs to go first, and he needs to pull that king's hand. If it's successored, that's okay. You have assassin threat. If it's not successored, you either get it or it gets king's handed. It's out of the game. You have to then get rid of that king's hand almost immediately because he has a sentry to pick it back up too.
Yep.
Sentry's ability is that you can disgrace it and then pick up, exchange a card from your hand. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I would agree. If you're Yedi, you're probably thinking, how do I protect the king's hand, knowing that is my only... Well, Yedi does have an Inquisitor. But, you've got to think about the assassin. So he's going first,
which is, again, I think that's the right thing. He throws away the Elder. No shenanigans this time around.
Nope.
And I think he's probably going to pocket one of his soldiers, if I was to guess, unless he's afraid of the counter Inquisit.
Counter Inquisit. Yep, there goes one of the soldiers into the pocket. Yedi thinking through what to do on this. I wouldn't be surprised to see the judge get tossed, potentially.
I mean, he devastated the judge with soldiers, and you got to think right now, hey, your opponent probably has 2 soldiers, or
exactly.
Somewhere.
Yeah, so I've got to think maybe the judge. You probably have to hold on to both oathbounds here. Again, going against double royalty.
You probably, Yedi.
Yeah.
He never listens.
Yeah, I mean, it could be fair. It's just, he's probably considering what's going to give him the most utility in this hand.
I could see him thinking that the Oathbounds both of them don't need to be in his hand. It's just how much risk and tolerance are you willing to go with, you know?
Yeah, if you only keep one, that means you have to play the other Oathbound on a royalty card.
And to keep in mind, the standard play right here is probably to throw away the Judge and to Successor your Zealot, right? Like that's the conservative play.
But the wild play is throw away the Zealot and keep the Judge. It's just actually, there's something to that. Again, You're going against double royalty. The Zealot loses some of its value.
He's going to conventionally throw away the Judge. I do like holding Judge late and trying to combat royalty that way. It's kind of an interesting dynamic that most people don't have the Judge late game enough to be able to do that, especially Judge Oathbound. You can use the Oathbound to get the Judge out, and then the Judge can set up your final card, and then you'll burn your entire hand, and you can beat royalty that way too.
That's right.
But it's rare when that happens. It also stops the Princess too. But enough theory crafting because we got it out of there. The next step here is Yedi has to decide, do I do the conventional Zealot Successor, or do I hide something and see if I can counter Inquisit?
Yeah, now again, the King's hand is going to be a pivotal card in this hand most likely, but you can't hide it behind your King because the thing you need it for is in part the Assassin. Or you could, but it's a big risk.
And one of the riskier plays here is to hide your King's hand, have the Mr. Inquisitor on the King's hand, and then you counter Inquisit the Assassin. So he could go for that play. I bet the kid will predict that that's going to happen. We already saw that.
Yeah, and there
he
King's
goes.
hand
He might do it. Here we go.
Yep.
So here's the thing: the kid can read this and get rid of something else. He does the King's hand. So this is exactly he's doing.
That line is.
He's
happening,
doing the line.
yeah.
So now he has to Inquisit. I think the Assassin's the right play. It's a 50-50 because if you Inquisit and miss, then they flip.
He goes for it, and it worked. All right.
Let me make sure the stream delay is on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just
at that line exactly. So 4-4-2 opening. And all right. Now, not only do you pull the Assassin out, but you get tempo because you can do whatever you want.
Not only tempo, but you can also pull it.
That's right.
So he can use the Sentry to pull the Assassin. However, I think it's better for him to go standard, which is what he's doing. He's going second. He doesn't need to speed things up. He can use one of his Oathbounds here, and so he does. That stops the Soldier from being played on the kid's side. Just in case it's not outwardly apparent, we're obviously seeing all the cards here, so he doesn't know that he has a Soldier, but he likely has a Soldier since he had two of them. Or it's the burn card. Neither player knows about the Warlord, so they do have to be wary about that. But based on Yedi's hand, he's not going to be able to have the opportunity to play it anyways if he was to have it, just because the kid could see both elders.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you're the kid, you're thinking, if I play anything on that Oathbound that's higher than it, he's going to 6-1 the Assassin back into his hand.
Well, he can fool it back too.
6-1, yeah.
No, I mean he can fool it just.
Oh
after
yeah,
he flips his king.
Now, right? I mean, there's not a lot he can do.
But
right?
you don't need the Assassin anymore because he's already flipped his king. So he's asking him, hey, do you want to use your fool? I'll let you use your fool, and get ahead. However, then I regain tempo and I'm going to try to bludgeon you.
Yeah.
The only response that the kid... So now Yedi's in a dangerous position because he has only two answers for royalty. King flip, Oathbound. If he loses any one of those without one of the royalty being played, it's real bad news.
Yeah, and so, did not use the fool there because, it's scary. He knows he's facing down more beef than he's got. So now he's got double 8s.
But he chose to flip.
That's right. Oh, yeah. So he flipped. He didn't do 6-1. Now, if you're the kid...
Well, no. The kid flipped. I'm saying everything crazy. He's going to be able to play the Mystic 6 right here. Is what I was trying to get to.
That's the problem here.
So he flipped. He's now the King's hand was used to get rid of the Mystic to stop the 6s from going away. That's one of the things that Yedi had to react to. So I said a lot of things back there, but what I was trying to say is that he had to flip his king to get his King's hand. He gets his King's hand so he can stop the Mystic from being able to use the Mystic's power on 6s.
That's right.
He used the King's hand to stop the Mystic. Now he still has those options to stop the royalty. However, he only has one option right now. Kid is going to pick up on that and notice that he has a Sentry to be able to get something else that could help him, and uses the Soldier to disgrace everything. So at this point, the kid has won the game, I think. because he has 2 royalty and
Oh,
Yedi
yeah,
has
that's
1
right.
answer.
Yeah, so right, Yeti will have to zealot on, she's going to want to zealot on this, and then the first of royalty will emerge. Yeti's going to have to use his Oathbound on it, which is to almost no effect.
So he has to essentially. I mean, actually, now he can use the. He has to use the Oathbound. So he has to save his Oathbound for the royalty, and then when he does the 6-1 combo, he has to pick up the Oathbound again.
Yep.
That's the only option he has to survive this round.
Yep.
So he's playing the Zealot here, which is the right play, but kid's got another soldier lined up.
Yeah, and
which
then,
is real painful.
Well, Yeti will just play, I think, the sentry on the soldier, but it's gonna.
But then you still have the princess threat of swapping cards.
Depending on what order, I actually think this could work out for Yeti. So,
okay,
because let's take this line.
Yeah.
Sentry. Kid plays soldier.
Kid plays soldier.
Yeti plays sentry.
Yes.
So then, what are the kid's options here?
I think he plays the princess, and yeah.
The only thing he has to swap would be the queen.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which would be a pretty bad thing to give away.
Oh yeah, because he ran out of cards faster because he went first. I forgot that he went first. That's this could be disastrous. So he has to essentially play his princess now. Force the swap.
Swap the soldier away. Yeah.
He has to play the princess now. Force the swap. Force the 6-1 combo.
Yep.
6-1 combo is going to pick up the Oathbound, so it's going to be sitting Oathbound Sentry. Then at that point, the kid can then play the princess, force a swap. He'll get a 6, and there's nothing he can. Oh no, he'll get the Sentry.
Back.
And then
yeah.
So it's going to be a 1-point win for the kid, I believe, if I'm reading the lines correctly here.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think he just runs out of cards from a 6-something play at the end, which not bad, I think, given where this was trending.
It turns out the royalty plus 7 wins in this case, but they still don't know where that warlord is, and I'm sure that's still a huge factor in people's minds.
Yeah, because the warlord would change everything up here, emerging with so much royalty floating around. So right now the kid, I think, is thinking through the same lines that we were just talking through.
A 1-point win is not a bad thing. I mean, he's only 1 mulligan down, but 2 points away from winning the entire tournament. That's not a bad place to sit.
That's true. Now, right, Yeti does still have his mulligan, and that's going to be really pivotal. When your opponent gets to 5, you still have your mulligan in your pocket. That means you're not one bad hand away from losing.
Hold on, let me just run through another line. I play the soldier, I hit it, right? Becomes a 7. You have a choice to 6-1 or use the sentry. I think that actually he can do just bludgeon with royalty at that point. If he plays a soldier and then Yeti plays a sentry, and then he can just queen and then princess. That will be.
Well, no, because he just do 6-1, pick the. Oh yeah, you're right, because he had nothing to follow his Oathbound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, I think this is why 3 cards left, right? Still a lot of decisions to make.
A lot of decisions to make, yeah. And it's just this point where you're thinking through all the lines. Now, we can do it much more effectively because
we know the
face down burn card. So we know what lines are possible with what's true on the board. They don't. They don't know. They have a general sense of what might be true, but especially having 1 card out of the information pool at this point still tosses everything up in the air.
Yeah, so throwing your soldier out, and then he has to make a decision on whether he wants to guess correctly or not. Because if he guesses correctly, it becomes a 7. Oathbound becomes enabled. If he doesn't guess correctly, it just stays a 5. He can't use his Oathbound other than just a regular 6. And then at that point, he's lost because he needs the Oathbounds for these royalty. So I think if he plays the soldier, I think if he guesses correctly, Yeti's going to have to do... He has to essentially play a soldier a sentry because he has to keep his 6s for the royalty. And then so he plays a sentry, he plays a queen... Oathbound, fool, pick up the Oathbound. Then you play the princess. He has nothing else he can do. That's 2 points.
That's right. That's exactly right. So yeah,
I think that's and then even if he had a warlord instead of a sentry, because he has to know. Oh, I'm not gonna say he has to know because actually Yeti did have an opportunity to play a fool earlier and he didn't. So he doesn't have to know. He doesn't have to know what's going on.
No one has to know anything at this point.
Although I think it's a much faster line if that was a warlord, right? You just hit with your royalty and there's no pickup from the fool.
So kid opens with the queen. So yep, and has to 6-1, picks it back up.
Yep.
Now soldier play would end this match.
Correct.
Or not end the match, but end the hand with a 2-point win. So
Soldier into no guess.
that's right.
Soldier into no guess would win the hand because it remains a 5. He cannot use his Oathbound with its ability. Not like he would want to. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he really...
The soldier just wins it.
Has
regardless.
no incentive to use the ability here. So...
Soldier wins no matter what here.
Yeah, just playing the soldier as a 5 will be a 2-point win for the kid. If he plays the princess...
Then that's real bad.
Then...
Because then
he would lose.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
he says, Judge...
That was risky, actually.
It doesn't matter if it hits or not. Oh, I guess it does because you don't want him to burn his hand.
Yeah. So, yeah, it missed because the judge was burned.
Well, I think it's because if he guesses correctly on the judge and you realize he doesn't have that other Oathbound, then the judge is another way for Yedi to shirk out.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't want the judge to be there. Ah, right. So there it is. All the permutations.
Whiteboard with the Charlie Kelly,
Steve Kornacki style analysis of lines.
We're at 6-3.
Well, as it is, the kid finishes that one out, picks the correct line, gets the 2-point win. It's 6-3.
That's right.
After, believe it's been 4 hands at this point?
We're on hand 7 now.
Hand 7. Oh, mulligan, right. So, never mind. I was way off. But that puts the kid 1 point away from his second crown.
And to be honest, he's been telling me the whole time that he really wants that prize, which we'll show at the end here. So he might be able to get that intact crown limited edition playmat.
And what is the prize, Simbu? Did you want to put it?
There. I'm gonna put them all up.
But see him at the end.
But 4-4-2, as you mentioned. So Yedi successfully put away his king's hand. To another a counter inquisit for the assassin, which was awesome. But at the end of the day, I think the big play here, the big decision, is flipping here and not using the fool. And that gave him, if he had used the fool, he would have been able to have an extra card. That, albeit he wouldn't be able to do the Oathbound thing. I think being able to get this having this Oathbound play here, the safety Oathbound out of the play, it was kind of a risky thing. He wanted to put pressure up, but. Anyways.
Yeah, I'd say probably that was the pivotal moment. I would agree on that, Simbu. It was a wonderful opening.
Yedi, this opening is fantastic.
Yeah, Yedi played that to perfection.
He hit his king's hand. He gave him. He knew that the kid was going first. Kid misses on that. He can counter inquisit, pull out the assassin. Really good play.
Yeah, but from there, didn't play the way they was hoping, and now the kid is 1 point away. But remember, Yedi does still have his mulligan.
Correct.
And pretty interesting hand. So
I think it's. So you got warm colors here.
Yeah, it's 1 card away from the Exodia hand because Yedi has both royalty, both elders, and an Oathbound,
and can choose who goes first.
That's right. So he knows the kid has only a max of 1 option for royalty beyond the king flip.
Nothing really to pick it up either. He's got no fool. The fool is face down, discarded. So. Looks like the imposter king gods want us to keep on trucking. Yeah, so this looks like a very strong hand for Yedi. If you're the kid, you're looking at this and wondering, you are on a narrow edge here, but the alternative behind playing is 2-point mulligan, losing a 3-point hand. Still fine. Yeah, you're still in the match, but you can't mulligan. But yeah, you're done. You got to play what's coming from that point on. You're wondering, is there a way I can weasel out of this? What is the best opportunity? And if there's anyone who can do it, it's the kid. Yeah. It is a very interesting question if Yedi makes the kid go first here or not. Everything is about getting rid of that Oathbound. Yeah. Correct. And now looking at Yedi's options for that, if you go first, you're going to inquisit it. Probably going to get king's handed. You could miss if he tucks it away. Well, he has to tuck it away because of that Inquisitor threat. Yeah, he does have a king's hand for that if he wants to, so he's probably thinking through that line too, which is I can stop him from taking this Oathbound away. After getting rid of that Inquisitor, there's no other thing that can force him to play this Oathbound. The other one is face up, so both players see that. Right, and he does have a king's hand potential. If Yedi wanted to get real tricksy, bring the card hand value or the throne value high, Oathbound into Inquisitor, you can't king's hand that. Yeah, dealing with the that's very true. The interesting thing is that the kid has a hand that's well engineered to not be forced to play that Oathbound because he has the king's hand. He's got both 7s. He's got the 8 and the Zealot. So there's a lot of cards he could put in the way
of having the Oathbound extracted or forced to be played for numerical reasons as well.
That's one that most people don't think about, and that he has to be really careful about. This Oathbound into Inquisitor to pull out that Oathbound. He's then lost the game.
Yeah, that's right. If he didn't tuck it away.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're Yedi, you know the kid knows this, and so you don't want to jump out of your shoes to make that play and then miss on it, and then you've expended a lot of resources for no gain.
Now, if Yedi wanted to try to, big brain this really hard, the thing that he would do is go first, which he's deciding to do. So maybe check the delay on that stream. No, if he goes first and he actually inquisits, so this Inquisitor is the only thing he can essentially use. You start off really high. You start off with like maybe a sentry or something. Force the kid to either flip or play something high as well. And then at that point you have an Oathbound into an Inquisitor.
Yep.
I think that's the route he has to go. If he plays Sentry first, I think he has a huge shot of winning this round.
Yeah, oftentimes, and this isn't often in the meta, just laying out beef right away can really turn hands in interesting directions, and this is one of them.
He's going to play it. So this is super dangerous. Obviously, again, we know everything here. Yedi doesn't know he doesn't have the Fool, because one counter to that strategy is just the Oathbound Fool.
Yep.
Grab your Oathbound again.
Yep.
But this is... Oof. So he goes into King's Hand.
For the King's Hand.
Okay, so this is fine. This is like the burning dog, the stuff burning in the background. This is fine for the kid. He's debating whether he should... King's Hand that, because then it gets rid of both of the cards, and Yedi will play again. Actually, not a super bad idea, because of the fact that now all the threat the kid was facing for that initial salvo is no longer going to be there. His only answer to the Assassin is going to be the Mystic. He does decide to use the King's Hand. I like that. Yep. And it shows me that Yedi's not going for the thing we were talking about. He's going for the Assassin. So
interesting. Yeah. So that's right. We talked all about the Exodia problem of dealing with the royalty, but yeah, Yedi also has the Assassin too.
This is good. The thing I was going to say, if he played the Sentry now, then the kid has to use his Oathbound and he loses as well. So, because at that point, he has to Oathbound because of the Assassin.
That's right.
So...
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think you Oathbound into Mystic here, and you get rid of the twos, and then you just go for a minimal loss here.
Yeah. Let's see. It would seem to be, and that's exactly what he did. Yep.
That's the right play.
Okay.
I think this is good. I think the kid's gonna get away with murder here.
Now, what's intriguing is, so Yedi played the Princess first, stuck now with the dead card of the Assassin that he can't trade away.
Correct.
Because he's got the Queen instead. Does he just play it here and give up tempo? Just as a way of extracting it? That would be a very conservative play. And fortune tends to favor the bold in Imposter Kings.
I think, this is it. This is again, kids getting away with stuff here. I think the Queen hold is just because he thinks he has the Fool.
I think
he's
that's
like,
right.
you're gonna have to flip on my Queen, and you're gonna not be able to play your Fool. Kid not having the Fool.
That's right. Makes that so he does ditch the now denuded Assassin. The kid now can grab tempo back and a judge play potentially.
Could do a judge play. He could hold it to the end. He doesn't have a way to successfully or easily play it until Yedi flips, as well. So this is his only opportunity after Yedi, unless the Yedi flips. So you can decide to play it early here, or you can just hold off and just wait and use it as part of his arsenal of drawing out the game.
But Simbu, this could be the opportunity for the battery. This could be the battery right now.
I'm not going to say a word. The battery's 0, the record of 0-12 this tournament.
Right.
The battery is playing the judge and then playing the soldier right afterwards. And it's called the battery because you are charging it to be a high value card. But people usually have a lot of things they can do once they know what you're doing.
That's exactly right. So most likely Yedi would just toss the Oathbound in his middle. And
well, another reason why the judge isn't super great here is because Yedi can just flip on it.
Yep. So intriguing development here.
So he does do the judge, calls for Sentry.
Calls Sentry, hits it. Let's see what comes out.
I think I wouldn't mind putting
it is the battery. There it is. Actually, I think in
So
terms
he's doomed.
yeah. If there's any time where the battery makes sense, it's right now. And if the kid's doing it, it's probably the right move.
It's very good. That sentry and that queen are going to be very devastating. Unfortunately, I think Yedi is going to think that he has the fool again, and I think playing around that fool is going to cause him a lot of trouble. He's going to play that queen pretty early. If he plays the queen to stop the fool, then Yedi, the kid's going to get away. He's going to get away with the zealot.
That's right. We'll see.
So, he's got a really big move here, right? He's got to either flip. Is he still trying to go for 3 points? Is he still trying to stop the queen?
Yeah,
now, at this point, the kid knows exactly what Yedi has in his hand because he called sentry over the judge and queen for the soldier.
And it's intriguing, right? So, of course, he does not flip anything with a soldier, again, extending the belief that he has the fool.
He hasn't
in his
done
hand.
anything yet. He doesn't know that Yedi doesn't have the fool. Oh, he does know that Yedi
Yeah,
doesn't have the fool.
Right, yeah, because he knows the 2 cards that Yedi has.
Hopefully, he doesn't flip anything. I think it's a big mistake if he does.
Yeah, he give that
because that
gives information away.
That bluff is working right now.
So now,
I think he just gave away.
Wow,
he just gave it away.
Now he's got to flip.
I think it's over for him.
Yeah. Oh.
That's gonna be a 3-point loss.
Yes, it will.
Oh my goodness me! If he had just played that bluff, I think maybe
he could have fooled Yedi into playing a different order. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll have to ask Yedi about that afterwards if he would have done things differently without that tell. But as it is, it's a 3-point hand for Yedi. And would you believe this final match of this tournament is 6-6. And Yedi has the advantage because Yedi still has his mulligan. So, boys, this one turned all sorts of ways. And it's very fitting it comes down to the last moment like this.
It does, yeah. And I think even going back here, I think just being cognizant of the fact that there's 2 6s out there, right? And Yedi knows where all the 3s are. He probably knew he could get away with this because even if he had a 1, it wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yedi had him dead to rights after about right here. We'll have to see if that judge play, he could have done something different. That sentry was the most dangerous card that round. It just kind of lingered, and it was like a really powerful card.
Yeah, big meat, but without the royalty strings. And I've got to say, Yedi played that beautifully, again using the advantage of the double royalty to its fullest extent. Very fitting this goes to the last moment. Now, here's a question.
Right.
Do you anticipate that the royalty will be split in this hand, or you think they'll be bunched up
They've
again?
been best friends lately.
Yeah.
This is going to be exciting. I can't wait to see what our last hand has for us. Is it going to be a 8-8 versus a 9-7? Is it going to be both 8s are gone?
Well,
I have a feeling there's going to be a mulligan on this one.
If Yedi, you've been saving your mulligan, and gosh, you've got to use it right now.
Yeah.
I can't see. If this weren't 6-6, you might try to eke something out, but in this
is why you save the salt water in the canteen, as you said.
Well, trying to play this hand would be like drinking salt water in a canteen. It would be very bad to play this if you're Yedi. In this circumstance, you have to mulligan this. The odds of winning this hand are very low.
Man, I really wish I had their audio right now. It would be funny to hear what his reaction was when he saw that.
Yeah, it's not a good-looking hand. It's one maybe you could do something with to mitigate the loss, but I just don't see it as a hand you want to play 6-6 when you have the option not to.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think he's still thinking it through. I mean, this is you always have to evaluate all the different options. I think the crowd is going a little wild on this one, seeing the. I'm talking.
There are many secrets.
Being
unveiled as part of this. I don't think this is the way to do it. Now, granted, if you're Yedi, you think, could I trap, knowing that the king's hand is not available, could I trap into assassination here? Because I know that the kid does not have Inquisitors either, but the kid likely has the Mystic, and of course has big ticket cards that could just bludgeon me to death before I can force them into a king flip.
He notices the king's hand is out too. I think maybe he is actually considering this, which I think is crazy.
I mean, it would be extremely aggressive. And I would assume, but the other thing is Yedi does not choose who goes first.
Yeah.
So if you're the
he's probably waiting for the kid to do something before he can mulligan.
Exactly,
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I think the kid is just being very careful, knowing that again this is a 6-6 match, on where to go with this, and Yedi's probably just waiting to hit the button when the option is there. But we'll see.
Yeah.
And
so the true king is going to end up with the kid for the final round, either this round or the penultimate round, if you will, depending on. But I think Yedi doesn't want to take the risk on this one. If you're 6-6 grand finals and you're one shot away from winning, I think this would be possibly the ballsiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it would be incredibly gutsy to do this. And, granted, these players have shown that they can win from losing positions like this or hands that seem weak. So if Yedi were forced to play this, I wouldn't say this match was over yet.
Correct.
But when you do have a mulligan in hand, I mean, we said, right, the golden rule of Imposter Kings is if you mulligan a marginal hand, you're going to get a worse one. It's hard to conceive of him getting one. I mean, there are worse hands in this. The Exodia hand would be an obvious one, but
obviously.
There aren't that many that are worse than this.
Yeah, I mean, he's got all the counters to the things that could be played, but it's just, I think just deciding, I think it's essentially just try to get, I mean, he's got the Mystic too. You get rid of the threes, and then at that point you pretty much have the game in the hand.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
I mean, even just play a high value card, force him to do something, disgrace something.
Yeah, this is, again, with the Mystic being present. Now, granted, you can't Mystic Assassin them. We won't need to because you can just play both your royalty cards and the match is over. So, yeah, I've got to just think that this is just not one you want to take a risk on if you're Yedi.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the Yedi can't mulligan until he knows who's going first. So, the weight here is not Yedi pondering about whether to mulligan or not. The weight is the kid deciding who's going to go first on this. Mm-hmm. And, we just got to wait for him to make his call.
Yeah.
And, again, this is what happens when you have all the beans riding on one last settled hand here.
There's Ben is very thorough about making sure that he has all the information he can possibly make before he makes a decision here.
Well, the other thing, and you didn't mention the prize for this tournament, you're holding this tease, but the winner wins $100,000. So there's a reason. No, sorry, that's not true. That's not true. They do win a very nice prize. It is not $100,000. So here we go. We're just going to take a quick gander here. For those of you, and there's a very healthy, wonderful crowd on this match, I want to thank you. This whole tournament has been a fantastic tournament. We've had great crowds, folks on the whole way through. It's great to time this for the final weeks of the Olympics because I feel like there've been a lot of discussions about 2032 in this.
They were saying, they're doing a preliminary, I think. So I think the kid decides that the kid goes first here. Yedi mulligans. I mean, this is the type of stuff. Team USA wins the gold medal in men's basketball. That's
spoiler alert, folks.
Yeah. Sorry, people watch the Olympics. My bad.
Yes, I guess they beat France today, huh?
Oh, it's pretty good. I mean, I think we're also seeing some new hands here.
And
with the royalty split up.
Royalty finally split, and this is a perfect hand, I think, to wrap this match up with, because it is I think a very interesting hand. Not tilted, I don't think.
Oh my gosh.
The Mystic is out. They both know that. One of the elders is also out. They don't know that. And
6-1 combo for the kid. We got the assassin on the other
Yedi side. What a beautiful hand on 6-6, all mulligans exhausted to end this tournament with, because this could go any way.
This is, I mean, I'm stressed. I'm not even playing.
So the kid is going to choose who goes first here. Doesn't have an Inquisitor, does have a Judge as an opening. Could open with the battery if he decides to. Yes. Although, that decision alone is a fascinating one, because the kid doesn't, could open with the Judge. He suspects the Yedi has at least one Inquisitor, and also likely has the Assassin. You never know. And so the card advantage question is interesting. The opening is interesting in this. The kid does have the King's Hand as a countermeasure for the assassin, and that is the only countermeasure the kid has for the assassin. And so I think we'll be very careful around protecting it.
First turn flip.
That's true. There is the first turn flip. Flipping on nothing, which is a valid play.
He does only need 1 point to win, so.
That's true. It is very gutsy.
This is one of those situations where the kid deciding to go second is really strong because of the fact that he can play the fool, get a lot of card advantage. The issue with doing that is Yeti's got a lot of really good open hand, things that he can do. So
yeah, exactly. Yedi going right after your king's hand. So kid is going to go first here.
Interesting. Okay.
Could be very dangerous.
Because if they play it out to the end, all else equal, the kid will lose. But he does have the fool, where if he gets to pick up something, that situation's reversed.
Of course, Yedi likely has the queen from his perspective, which is a full countermeasure. Oh, again, what a perfectly balanced hand for the final hand of this tournament. So kid will go first. I suspect we'll see the judge to lead off, although I wouldn't presume anything. Kid, I'm sure, has got the wheels spinning. It'll be interesting to see even what these players burn.
It's just super interesting because I think a lot of people discounted the soldier. They're like, hey, soldier's not very good. I'll just throw it away every single time. Now with more people playing the judge, the soldier's quite good, right? And we saw one example of Yedi using the soldier to great effect in order to flip early as a faux queen. So
it is so interesting. And yeah, even it's hard to predict even what they'll burn. So the kid burns the zealot. Interesting indeed. But not as, if anything, what to suggest to me, what we're going to see here to lead this off.
Don't say it.
The battery.
All right, there it is.
Now, remember, the kid played the battery last hand, and it was a 3-point loss.
As I said. But here's the thing, the battery curse hashtag. The thing that is crazy to me right now is that he's pocketing an elder, maybe thinking that this is going to go down to him using the fool and him being able to use his elder to great effect. Most people don't hold on to the elder if they don't have the warlord. This is, I don't know what kind of calculus has him putting the zealot away first, but this is tough. This is a really close finisher here, and it does seem to lend the thought lends to believe that there might be a judge play here. Judge is really good when you have lots of ways to stop.
Judge guess assassin, so gets the information on it and the hit. Very interesting indeed. And yep, it's the battery. Of all things to lead off the final hand of the entire tournament, the battery. Could it vindicate itself? Could this be its first win?
If the battery wins it, I'm going to make special cards for the soldier and the judge. There'll be a card that you can put together, and it'll just shoot the soldier to the opponent's side. It's just, this is insane. I cannot believe he uses the battery. He's going to flip on that. He didn't have it. He didn't have his soldier. He doesn't want to play another card.
Tuck the soldier away.
I'm going to flip it now so you can't use your fool.
And setting up, but that, there is no mystics. There's nothing to set up there.
This is just, Yedi is banking on the fact that he's now gotten rid of one of the answers to the fool.
And he guesses the fool because he didn't want to hit and to try to set up some information mind games there. Because, he...
Interesting that he does that.
He doesn't want an Oathbound. I don't think he wanted the 6-4 play, and
because a 6-4 into King's hand
would be very bad.
Would win the game. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, 6-4 into King's hand would win the game right now, for Yedi. Wow, I would have maybe fallen for that. I would have fallen for a lot of things. I would have been done 6-0, 7-0, 9-0 like 10 minutes ago.
There's a reason why I'm long gone from this tournament. Interesting.
Boy, so good insight. And then the whole tradition is that if you play a soldier and you don't want it to hit, you guess something that you have in your hand just to sow some confusion.
Exactly.
It worked really effectively against Goose, I believe. Or Goose used it. I think both actually happened in this tournament at one point, which was essentially making it a 50-50 for them to guess. And it's like, oh, are you the type of person who would guess something that was already in your hand? So yeah, now the kid has to either protect that King's hand until he can flip. Yedi guesses for the King's hand. You know it.
Now, if you're the kid, there's no hiding it now. So, Yeti called the bluff. Now the pile is at 7. Do you flip? No. Do you flip on this? Just because now you can.
I mean, you lose your 8. That's really bad.
You lose your 8, but
real bad.
You take it out of the equation. You can't have it 6-4 out of your hand, and now you're in desperate shape.
I mean, you can still use your Oathbound Fool to pick up something, but you kind of want to keep your Oathbound. So you kind of want to keep your Fool.
That's right.
Going first here was really tough.
Okay, so
Yeti's not buying the full bluff.
Guess not. So interesting. Okay, so 3 valid plays here. Actually, 4 valid plays. King's hand.
Yep.
That would be
Flip.
crazy.
He's gonna do the flip.
He's gonna flip it. Yep.
It makes sense. It's just unfortunate.
Well, I don't know yet if that's unfortunate. I think.
Well, not having an 8 right now is real painful for him.
Yeah, it can be because you have the Warlord and no Zealot.
He just has no way to play that Fool. He can, of course, give it over to Yeti, but Yeti even has an Oathbound. Oh, my goodness me. We just got an Inquisitor into a Princess.
Inquisitor into the Princess.
Eek.
Does he invoke the trade?
He can't?
Well,
Because he needs to use... That queen play right after a princess is going to be really harsh.
Well,
oh, man.
He could trade it for... I mean, if he trades it... So, the obvious thing to trade would be his Elder. And so you give Yeti the card to play on the princess, but you're going to get something pretty high value back. At worst, you're going to get another Elder back. But at best...
I mean, you won't get another Elder. He'll get an Oathbound back, you mean? Yeah.
Well, I mean, because he doesn't know that the second Elder's
I
hanging
see what
around.
you mean. Yeah.
So, at worst, you're going to end up with an Elder back.
Or an Inquisitor.
Of course, if you get the Oathbound back, this is not a great time to have an Oathbound because you can't 1 point loss this, obviously. So
it's just really yellow on Yeti's side there. The
Yeah,
colors
this
are
is-
real infrared, if you will.
this has been Yeti again has played very strongly right when the chips were all there, and
Could I say that the battery not only lost this hand, but the hand before it? If that's the case.
I think so. I mean, certainly when we get into the interview room in Posture King Stadium, I'll have to mention the battery's presence in these last 2 hands and the outcome of such. But we don't know this hand's outcome yet.
He's got quite a lot of options here. He decides to do the swap. This is a pivotal moment, and I think Yeti's okay giving up that Oathbound.
I wonder if...
Because he's got numbers.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Yeti is okay giving away the Oathbound. And that's exactly what happens. It's Elder for Oathbound.
Now you play the queen, and he doesn't have an ability to grab it other than to use the Oathbounds. I mean, you don't know where the other Elder is, but
yeah, that's right.
you still play the queen to stop the...
6-1, pick it up.
Get rid of all royalty, get the 6-1 pickup.
It's going to be a 1 point hand right when 1 point loses you the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Looks like that. So we're now going to see Yeti just having to sequence the right cards here. He actually gets a 2-point win if he plays the Elder here.
I actually don't know if there's a sequence he could lose. If he plays...
You play the Elder, you win. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, and if
you play the Sentry and use its ability to swap your Warlord for the Fool, then yes, you lose.
Yeah, that would be... That would be a baffling play indeed. I think, of course, there it is. Just lays down the Sentry. Kid only has one option, which is just 6-6.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's it is. Yeti wins with a 1-point round at the end to clinch it all.
That's the tournament.
My
Yeti,
goodness.
A brand new true king with the 1-point hand. And what an incredible hand to end this match. An amazing tournament, an amazing end to the tournament. And we have a new true king.
That's right. Yeti's been working real hard for this. And boy, those were not easy games. He was down 6-3, came back all the way to make it a 7-6 win. Yeti, I can't say anything other than the fact that he deserves to be a true king.
That he does. He absolutely does. He came up from the lower bracket, beat incredible competitors along the way, and each time just when he needed to up his game, he found that extra gear. He did it against his brother in the lower bracket finals.
Actually, yeah, he
did it right here against the kid.
That's what he did last time too. You're right.
And yeah, in both cases was down with opponent at 6, a long way from victory, and just when he needed it most, he pulled all the right levers. What a deserving true king.
I mean, good for him for sticking it out for most people, again, there was that hand where he had a pretty bad hand. He got to save his mulligan until the end and then became 6-6, pretty even hand there. He played it immaculately and was able to basically pull out all the cards that were necessary for him to win there, forcing him to flip for the assassin, having that line where he could do the 6-4 into pulling the king's hand, all those different things. I mean, just fantastic. So.
Yeah, I think if you were to do a custom card for Yedi, it should be a card that's +5 when back against the wall, +5 when the opponent's at 6, because it's amazing how well Yedi played those last few hands to extract the most out of them, and played superbly throughout the whole tournament. And to beat the kid, not easy to do.
Not at all. I mean, the kid is a top contender, and as you can tell from his thoughtful processes, he found a lot of ways. He invented new rules that I didn't even know about, including the Fool not being able to use its ability in order to bring down the value one. Like, it's not easy to play against the kid, and especially when he has a lead on you. 6-3 is a really daunting task to overcome, but Yedi was able to get that 3-point hand, and then momentum was on his side.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're going to get a chance to talk to the kid here at Imposter King Stadium, who, again, is already a true king. He's won one of these tournaments before. He's got a great mindset for anything. As we mentioned, if it's on glossy cardstock, the kid works magic with it. But this one had a sting a little bit, I would imagine.
Yeah, he really wanted to secure the new playmats for the True Kings. He already has the True King shirt. He's already got all the other True King swag. So he's still going to be able to rep the fact that he is a true king. However, as always, when you're about to join a live interview, you have to update Zoom. So looks like Nolan's here. So
that would be Yedi. And so Yedi's here, and I'm sure is beaming. We're excited to get Yedi in for
boy,
the
when you
interview.
hit that, we got to ask him how it felt to hit that button. The last card play of the game. So
I mean, again, the thing about 18 card standard, especially in tournament context, it's intense. And I know most of you, probably all of you who are watching this, have played a fair bit of Imposter Kings. But if you haven't, you should really give it a shot at play.imposterkings.com. Because it is a great, fun game with a great expansion coming out.
Yeah, I'm sure people are linking the Discord as well in the chat, as well as the place that you can play it. You can print the card game, you can play it online. There's a free online client that we've been watching right now, so that's everything we've been doing. And there are lots of people who want to play with you.
That's right.
Online. So we're gonna go ahead and let our good friend Dodd the God into the channel. Let's see it.
Here he comes.
Hello.
The kid.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm tired.
What a game.
Yeah, wonderful to see you again. What a back and forth match. Incredibly well played. I know you came up short at the end. How's it feel? And is there any moment you're playing in your head right now you're thinking, if only I could have that one back?
I mean, I really wanted that double king. The back to back, the playmat. I really wanted the playmat. So, going from, a good start in the lead. But Yedi just chipping away hand after hand, and when I got to the 6-6, I was like, I'm down a mulligan. I'm gonna be playing with a worse hand, and we just need a 1 point. It's gonna be pretty hard to sneak it past him. So,
Yeah, and we were commenting about how I didn't even realize that you could use the Fool and not use its ability in order to mitigate how many points you lose in that. And it really came down to that, right? Because you wouldn't have been able to get to the 6-6. I want to talk about. We make a joke here all the time, which is that the battery is always a losing strategy. In the last two hands, you were playing the battery. Was that part of the reason why you weren't able to secure, or was that the hand was just not a good hand to play when you were at the 6-3?
Well, on the 6-3 hand, it was a very dangerous hand state. I was considering mulliganing because there's potential for a 3-point. I think I probably should have. But holding your mulligan is beneficial, right? Like if I'm sitting there, and because I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, there's potential I get 3-pointed, but I think I can probably sneak away with the 2. And if there's a good card out for me, maybe suddenly it's a different game state, right? So I'm trying for these chances.
Right.
In the end, Yedi got me with the 3-pointer, and then I'm starting to feel pretty bad at that point. But
so a bit of a momentum shift. It was a tough match. You were really maximizing some points there. You had some hands that were pretty crazy. In fact, we thought there's no way you could win them, and then you came back and won them. That's just the classic for this level of play. By coming up in as the runner-up, you may not be the true king, but you still get an intact crown playmat. And I know that you really wanted the other one, so, there's going to be more tournaments in the future where hopefully you can earn this one too.
Yeah. That playmat's going to be sick. I mean, both of them are beautiful. Yeah, amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and you've had a hell of a run on the upper bracket. Always fun to have you on. Always fun to have the conversation afterwards. Good to see you. Thank you for being such a stalwart member of the community, and good luck in Osaka.
Thank you very much. Yeah, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for everything you do.
Thanks again.
What a competitor. So Ben, obviously he's a flesh and blood player. He's going to the World Championship in Osaka, so that's what I was referring to there.
That's right. Not only is he a flesh and blood player, he's a flesh and blood player.
Let's go ahead and welcome we'll go ahead and welcome our true king for the Royal Rumble. Nolan, get in here. Get in here, Yedi.
Congratulations.
Get in here.
You did it.
Congrats, dude. 6-3, and then you clawed your way back up again, just like your last match. I'm sure that you were fine the entire way. It was not stressful at all.
Not sweating in the slightest. Yeah,
You were just having a good time. Congratulations, Yedi. You finally are going to be a true king.
Woo!
As well as you've earned one of the nicer, I would say, playmats that we have to offer, the one with the intact crown. Tell us how you feel. How did it feel to hit that last button when you knew you won? When did you know you were going to win? What was the time? Was it when you had the 7-6, not 8 in your hand, and he was deciding whether he should use the princess swap or not?
Well, yeah, pretty much. Because that was when I was like, okay, well, he has no answers to both an 8 and a 7. Like, the only thing that he can do is have an Oathbound. I'm handing him an Oathbound anyways.
Right. And you were not
my
fooled
plan
about
was
his little
if there
fool.
was still some shenanigans there, then I could use the sentry to, assuming that he gave me the fool, I could use the sentry to throw back the fool and get something else.
You didn't think that he had you knew he had the fool. He was bluffing the fool, right?
Yeah, I thought he had the fool. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you hell of a run. You made it from the lower bracket. You beat your brother, who's known to be one of the best players in the game, and then you beat the kid, who's also known to be one of the best players in the game. Both of those games, you were under. You were behind in points, and then you came back and won. How do you feel?
Pretty good, considering after the first hand, I was like, oh no, this is how it's gonna go. That first hand, I felt like I had absolutely no business losing, and he pulled out a 2-point win.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a
which
4
was really
points
impressive.
4 point
I was
swing.
really
Yeah.
playing around. I was like, there's no chance he kept the assassin.
Yeah.
And then as I was playing my Inquisitor, I'm like, it wouldn't hurt to check. So then I pulled his Inquisitor, and then me being the genius that I am, I'm like, there's no other cards. don't have to worry about floor. Yeah, no, he can't get the assassin back. Completely forgetting that the sentry is not just an 8. Um, so
So when he
not
picked up the
only did I
assassin,
misplay that, but I feel like he played that hand exceedingly well.
so when he picked up the assassin, that's when you were like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I was like,
I see. Well,
yeah.
well, it ends up with you winning the entire thing. The Royal Rumble belongs to you. Do you have anything you want to say to your fans?
I want to say that I think honestly, probably, definitely Kid and maybe Goose, I would actually still probably consider better players than me. Um, I would like to give a shout out to the Kid for like his sportsmanlike conduct. Like I immediately when I played the judge, I was like, it was a misclick, and he was immediately like, oh, let's see if he can reverse it because I know that he can go back to different game states. I was like, first of all, you can do that. Second of all, like the fact that he was willing to let me do that, I think really speaks leagues of not only his play but also his character.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
Absolutely,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Imposter Kings is definitely about less of the gamesmanship and more of the knowing the. Well, I think gamesmanship has a place in certain games, but the thing that Imposter Kings is all about is accessibility, making sure that it's not a memory game. That's not the fun part of the game. It is still fun, I think, to play games that are like that, but the whole purpose of Imposter Kings is kind of know what's going on and you have to find the right line to play. So it's in the spirit of what, the Kid is a stalwart member of the community, and I think that he exemplifies the type of Imposter Kings. He's not an imposter, let's put it that way.
yeah, no, true king, if ever there was one. But now
if
you
there
are
ever-
as well, and you'll have the T-shirt to prove it. And what's the first thing you're going to do officially as an official new true king?
I'm gonna rub it in the face of my brother, saying that now he can't hold that over my head.
Correct? Yes.
Because the first thing that he said when he gave me I forgot to wear it, but when he gave me my Imposter King shirt, the one that just doesn't say True King, the first thing he said was, "Yeah, but mine's better."
And of course, I wasn't setting that up to happen either.
Notice that neither of
Hey,
ours
me and
have
Benchmark,
that.
it's okay.
Yeah, I got like the oldest one. It's good, like it's all kind of gone. And look at what's going on here.
Yeah, look at that.
Hey.
No red text on this one either.
Well,
So-
but congratulations. I'm glad that all those player discovery delays, we were able to discover you and have you show up and win 7-6 in the Royal Rumble. Congratulations. Thank you so much. We'll chat
Thank
with you
much.
soon.
It was a great time. Thanks for the competition.
Awesome. Well, that was a crazy match. I mean, I thank you everyone who stuck around. I mean, I know this was a back and forth slugfest. Both players really wanted it, and you can tell based on their plays that they were studying each other and trying to make sure they're finding the best lines to the point where we got to 6-6 and we're able to crown a new true king.
A crazy match, a crazy tournament, a very worthy true king at the end. I hope you have all enjoyed it, watching this as much as we've enjoyed broadcasting it. And one last thing, we have a few last things. I was going to sneak in a quick plug from your
Of course. But just we have a couple last things to say. But first and foremost, thank you everyone who joined. Again, if you want to play the game, if you want to hear more about it, if you want to download that cheat sheet, YouTube, it's going to be in the link for chat. You can scroll up, you can see it. We'll also paste it again. But feel free to contact us at any time, and we'd love to have some more kings on the field.
That's right. You can play the game for free at any time at play.imposterkings.com. You can print the cards out yourself for free anytime you want. All you need is a printer and the toner to run it. But if you want a beautiful box of these wonderful cards and terrific card stock for $30, you can go to MinMax Games and buy yourself a set. It is well worth it. And in just a month and a half, October 1st, you can go on a Kickstarter and get in on the ground floor of the expansion.
It's a month and a half?
Yeah.
I got to shake a leg.
Yeah. It's August 10th, so there's the rest of August and then September.
It's
October
coming soon,
1st.
folks, and I can tell you right now the artwork is looking fantastic. The trailer will also be up so you can analyze that when it happens. So
And Michael Hirsch on art. But if you like Michael Hirsch on art, I should point out that he has also done the art for a new audio drama coming out in September 2024 called Metropolis. That is at luxradium.org if you want to learn more and sign up for our mailing list and know when it's going live. The trailer is going up on Monday. So if you've liked hearing the sound of my voice, there's not much of it because it's full of professional actors who are not me. But I would love for you to check it out again because you're great folks for joining in on this.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and obviously Metropolis to come and come out of Metropolis. Come join us over here in Imposter King Stadium and cast with me. It's been a lot more fun than if it was just me doing it, I think, for both everyone at home and for me. So thanks again, Dan, for participating, for casting, and for being part of the group.
Well, thank you, Simbu, for being a great game designer, a great person, and a great leader of this community.
No, we're good.
And
we're wrapping it. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget to
stay royal.
Do I have a... No, it's still us.
We're still... Oh, is there a button?
There's a button. We got to hit a button.
Oh.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.